Goddag alle sammen. Jeg beklager, jeg prater dansker. Jeg kan også prate engelsker. Maybe it's better. I'm from NISA. NISA is a Nordic Initiative for Sustainable Aviation. It's an association established by all the Nordic important actors regarding aviation, airports, airlines, some authorities, Boeing and Airbus, and also some of the confederations representing aviation in the Nordic countries. As you can see here on the slide, I will talk a little bit about, or on the agenda, I'll talk a little bit about initiative we have taken, establishing a study, analysis on what's going on in the Nordic countries regarding biofuels for aviation. And just to remember, in the top here you can see where you will find the report. It's too heavy to bring, it's over 200 pages, but I think it will be distributed later on, so you will have the address for the website where you can find the full report. But I only have 10 minutes. That's the front page of the report. Nordic perspectives on the use of advanced sustainable jet fuel for aviation, it says. It's really academic language, I would say. We call it sustainable jet fuel for aviation. There are some recommendations in the report, and very shortly, the report contains a number of relevant recommendations, very funny, aimed at policymakers, refineries, producers, suppliers, and developers, investors, and others. We see it as an important call for swift response and broad involvement, and that's necessary. But also you see here, there's a lot of actors on the whole supply chain, from the field or the wood or wherever we start, until it's in the airplane. There's a lot of actors, a lot of people involved. Also other things than that is mentioned here. But the report is not the solution. The report is more or less what we could call a step on the way to get some sustainable solutions for the future. In the report you will see there's an overview of the market today. There are a lot of things to say about that, but looking at what's possibilities in the Nordic countries, we have wood. We're talking, of course, of sustainable wood, forest, and residuals from wood that could be transformed into some kind of fuel, different kind of fuels, or different kind of methods making fuels. You also have the possibilities in growing feedstocks in the fields. Is possible. You can grow feedstocks containing oil, which could be transformed into biofuels. And in the bottom you will see what's most actual for Denmark, where I come from. The agriculture. There's a lot of possibilities in the agriculture, making biofuels. The Nordic policy framework, it's important because it's very difficult to see that the market for itself can establish what we need. We also need politicians to take their role in this important issue. So there's a policy framework that we have to take into account. If you look into very, very shortly the ways forward for producing biofuels, you can see here there are those ways, it's difficult for you to see, but there are different things that could be used as feedstocks. It has to go into a treatment thing, so it can be used in one of those three ways of producing biofuel. Here's mentioned thermochemical route, or the chemical route, or the biochemical route. Those three are possible today. They are on the market producing other things. So it's obvious to say that those areas could take over, but there are also other possibilities, and perhaps some of those more or less traditional ways would be taken over by newcomers doing biofuel production in other ways. We have in the report an overview of existing facilities in the Nordic countries. You can see here we have where we have the airports, of course, and and also where we have the where we have the biorefinery possibilities on the green squares. So already now we have different possibilities of producing biofuel. It is important to say producing biofuel for aviation is not the same as for the land transportation. We're talking about a product which are not an ethanol. We're talking about a product which are kerosene. It means that it's another process we need to use to get that on the market. So it's not the same, but some of the same facilities, especially when we're talking about refineries, could be co-processing the products. And that's one of the things I think we need to put more in focus. In the report you can see there's an overview over how is the actual situation in the different countries, and it's not just focusing on aviation biofuels, but in general, what is the situation, talking about the political landscape in the different countries. And things I mentioned here about Sweden, I think it's familiar to you, most of it. And I need to step to the conclusions, some of the conclusions in the report, very fast because I only have those 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Some of the main conclusions here is that we have technology to produce biofuel. We have feedstocks, enough feedstocks to make a continuous and big production of biofuels. And we have the expertise. It means we have knowledge existing in the Nordic countries to produce it. But also, another thing is that it's too expensive to produce it today as it is today. We don't have a facility which can produce biofuel for aviation in a costly, interesting level so far. In the report you will find some recommendations. Here the first one is overall recommendation to policy makers and private sector in terms of enhancing public-private collaboration. For that could be one of the ways forward. Establish some collaborations which are really solid and robust. So it can go for not 1 year or 2 years, but we have to make contracts on producing, delivering, and buying biofuel for at least 10 years in a contract, maybe 20 years if it should be really interesting for all the parties. And here the politicians has an important role to play. And for the policymakers, here you can see there are some recommendations which are, you could say, an example could be to tie economic benefits to the use of sustainable jet fuel in order to reduce the cost differential, at least as a start. There are some activities like that taking place in Holland, and also in Finland, and perhaps also in Norway. Some initiatives that could be examples. They are initiated as things they are looking at, but it's not decided yet to do it in that way. But that's the recommendation. And the next one is to policy makers. Oh, I have had that one. The report also points out some important barriers. I have mentioned a few of them. High price gap between fossil and sustainable jet fuels. The report comes up with the results saying something between 3 and 8 as expensive as fossil fuel for biofuel for aviation. That's too expensive. The price has to come much lower, and here the initiatives establishing incentives or something like that is very important. Challenge 2, lack of congruent sustainability requirements. 3, lack of coherent policy across Nordic region. We don't have that. Maybe it's easier to see solutions if you look at a bigger market than Sweden, a bigger market than Norway and Denmark, but look at the market saying the Nordic countries. That's at least a recommendation from our side. And 4, there's a low access to risk capital, and 5, competing uses for feedstock. It means that the feedstock which are out there is also for producing energy or producing land transport fuel and so on. So it's difficult to be sure that we have the feedstock we need. Going from that, we have in NISA, 1 minute? 2?
Yeah, just 1 more minute.
Okay. We have decided in NISA that something has to be done after the report now is published, and we will work further with some main tasks I mentioned here, which are to tell about the results, tell about the recommendations, tell about what has to be done on the political and in the private sector, and is it possible to find some solutions between the parties here. Also to promote Nordic aviation's ambitions and plans for reducing emissions and searching influence on solutions, because it is important that you can't put taxes on aviation here and then come up with solutions that you need to pay more for buying biofuels. So that's just an example. Also, the Nordic Energy Research, which is a part of Nordic Council of Ministers, they have now put it on the agenda and said we will try to find solutions. We will try to find a way forward, which could be a Nordic solution. And it's important for NISA to say that's a part of our business to see if we can be serious involved in that development. And also, as mentioned just before about the ICAO process, IATA is the civil aviation's organization, and there is another organization called ATAC, which also includes airports and other actors in the aviation sector. Will try to build up some working groups in different areas, regions of the globe to find solutions, and we will of course take part of that. Also we see some producers producers which are here today could be more important in the future. Let me say one example: Preem, which are the Swedish big fuel supplier. They're not supplying fuel for aviation, but it could be future investment for an interest for Preem to look at the possibilities here. Maybe not this year or next year, but in the future. And the last one mentioned here is finding possibilities like establishing of funds. The ICAO process, which was mentioned, points out that we have to, on a voluntary basis, establish an offset mechanism which could be used to put money into the biofuel sector in a way that if you are going to buy an offset, it could be a biofuel offset that could be used in line with what's decided in ICAO. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities for this forward issue, which are important for our sector. As you will see here, the need is there, the market is there, and the possibilities are there. I think my time is over now. So
Thank you, Martin.